Hot take, real quick. You may never see this, you might see this. Let's just see how this goes. I am an oracle, and I have not ever been inaccurate about anything that I have said to this point. But nothing that I say actually means anything because I'm an entertainer and I'm just here for your entertainment. Okay, now that we got that part out the way, for entertainment and educational purposes, I have a hypothesis that I would like to propose to you. Number one, I grew up among demons. I grew up among people that had been traumatized to the point that their soul was buffering and probably not fully embodied in their presence. So I experienced a lot of different forms of abuse. Pretty much everything that you can think of has happened to me. A lot of it was at the hands of men. Now that I got that part out the way, let me just say this. I learned to identify predators. I learned to look into their eyes, read their auric field, and it spoke to me. And I used it to keep my children safe so that they would not have to endure the same abuse that I had to endure. Now that I got that part out the way, let me just say this. And this might offend some people, and that's okay because, it's just a part of this human experience. But when you follow a God who wants Abraham to sacrifice his own innocent son, his own flesh and blood, who also did the exact same thing and called it righteousness. When you have the prophet Elijah, who conjured a bear and it mauled children because they were picking on him. When you have men that are in positions of power, like King David, and they take other people's wives after watching them bathe when they did not know that they were being bathed. When you have women raped like Tamar, and no one wanted to marry her after that, nobody protected her. Abraham's own wife was so beautiful, Sarah, which is Saraswati. Abraham is up. Anyway, that's a whole story for another time because Hinduism is in the Biblios Helios book of the sun, just as Jewish folklore, theology, and many other things like numerology that are in this book that a lot of people read by to get their instructions for life. And so you have to wonder why taking communion involves drinking blood and eating flesh in remembrance of something. Let's take it out of the context that it was given to us in and actually have an authentic sovereign thought where you allow yourself to set aside what you think you know so that you can discover the truth. Now, with what we see happening, with all of this information that's coming out, I want you to pay close attention to how a lot of it is aligned with monotheistic religious teachings, including the virgin girls, because most women are not virgins, the virgin girls who will be given to those that worship Allah. Now, this conversation isn't about the people because most of us didn't know any better. We inherited belief systems. We didn't do a deep dive in research. We're mammals. We don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. We don't want to be kicked out of the village because it's going to be harder to survive. So, as a survival mechanism, we just believe what we were told to believe and went on with our life. But then you have those who are timeline disruptors, cycle breakers, black sheep, truth seekers, those who are willing to humble themselves to set aside what they think they know so that they can actually learn, evolve, and grow. It cannot happen. If you think that what you know is all there is to know and there is no inaccuracies in what you know, your prime, your prime hunt for predatorial systems. So I am speaking about systems and not the people in them. Christianity is a combination. astrotheology, demonology, in which King James wrote the book on demonology first. So this was a book that was used very similar to fragmentation through trauma to compartmentalize people's consciousness so that they don't know who they are. And they have all of these different personalities and alters that's embedded within them. And this is why we see some of the most heinous crimes of passion happen among people who are still in the religious system. If the religious system was not based on blood sacrifice, child sacrifice. I mean, it's in there. I can't make this up, right? Read it for yourself. Okay. The abuse of women. Okay. And not only that, but these doctrines, all of them, are forms of sex magic, and they're centered around the phallus and the yoni, whether it is the steeple on the church, which symbolizes the phallus, or the dome of the church that symbolizes the yoni. It is sacred geometry. That's why it's called the Biblios Helios. Now, the thing that really amuses me is that this same book that calls for bloodshed as a form of cleansing, okay, is the same book that says it's wrong for you to sacrifice a chicken. Now, you can only kill this chicken if you intend to pluck it, fry it, and eat it, okay? But if you want to use this for a spiritual practice and give honor for that chicken and give honor for that animal's existence, using the blood as a way to communicate between realms, that's demonic. But if a father wants to sacrifice his own son, that's holy and that's righteous. So, how is that any different than the things that Moloch demanded from people to pass their babies through the fire? And how were the practices of ancient Egypt so far away from what Yaldabaoth, Jehovah of the Biblios Helios, requirements for sacrifice? He would even say, you have the right to go to this land because these people are not worshiping me and following my 10 commandments that were borrowed from the 42 commandments of the laws of Ma'at. Okay, even though I took that, it's not mine. I take stuff and repurpose stuff. But you can go and take all the women and children, unalive men, and take the women and children. How is that any different from the things that are being revealed now? And this was a very painful journey for me. I was a hardcore Christian. I was a hardcore Hebrew Israelite. I was hardcore practicing Islam because it was what my boyfriend wanted to do. So I studied many different monotheistic religions. That Kaaba stone that they march around represents the yoni. Go and look at pictures of this meteorite that is black, okay, that is used. It's right there in our faces. What was the flood? In the beginning, there was this water that hovered. What was that? Could that have been the water that brought forth us all, which is the water of the womb space of woman? So, see, I didn't just jump off the porch. I've been having to face these painful things for so long, trying to understand why I went through sexual abuse and why I was different and why I could always see energy operating behind what was on the surface. And after two near death experiences, and many of the times that I did not think I was going to make it through the night, I am an oracle, and this is what I am here to do. I just shed light in the darkness. The rest is up to you.